joining us for another edition of City Matters. I'm your host, Jeff Small, and we have Laverne Mitchom joining us today. She's the Ward 2 councilperson, filling the seat for Brian Fletcher, who passed a short time ago and left some big shoes to fill. He, like you, was a huge supporter of Ferguson, and I know you are as well. Talk about what brought you to Ferguson, and why are you still in Ferguson?
Well, 10 years ago, my husband basically wanted to move out in the county because, one, my daughter and her family were in Florissant, and we wanted to be close to our grandkids. And we were in the Central West End, and he had done a lot of work on an older home, but he was kind of tired of doing it, so we decided to move to Ferguson. We liked the house, and we decided it would be a good place for us to be.
I know, certainly with all of the things that have gone on over the last couple of years, the narrative is so much negative, but there's some really nice things about Ferguson. Just from, I can think of many, but talk about some of the things that if you're around town, what are some of the things that you like about Ferguson?
Well, you know, Jeff, when we first moved to Ferguson, one of the things that I was very attracted to, it had a small town feel, but at the same time, it had a progressive feel, like a larger city. And that combination I found very attractive. And just being around town, again, it's that kind of like small town feel. You can just, you know, walk downtown, and actually, I can walk from my house probably to downtown, you know. And I just like the small town feel, but yet it's very progressive also.
Gotcha. And your background, talk a little bit about that. What have you done?
I have been a counselor in the St. Louis desegregation program for 30 years. I retired in 2014, but I still work a couple of days. I have kids who say, you can't leave yet, you got to stay till I graduate. And I wasn't the type of person just to go home and sit down. Plus, I love the job. But it's kind of like the best of both worlds. I'm retired, but yet I still can do, you know, a few days and still work with kids and parents in schools.
And in your free time, what do you do? Are you and your husband or family?
You know what? Free time, I like to travel. I'm not doing that much right now since I've become a councilwoman. But and I like reading. I love reading good books. I like to shop too. You know. And I like my husband and I. We like to sit down together and watch good movies. We like to do that and go to the movies and go to dinner. So.
I know. So my mother was an educator for a long time in the Ferguson Florissant School District for a while, as a matter of fact, and she instilled in me the love of reading and education in general. But what is it about, you know, when you talk to young kids, particularly young parents, about reading to kids and things like that? Why is that still important? I mean, that's never changed, I guess.
Well, Jeff, it's still important because, as they say, parents are the first teachers. They're the first teachers. Kids get their foundation and what they believe and their values. That begins at home. And so when they get in school, you know, whether they have an excellent teacher or a mediocre teacher or whatever, if they have had good foundations from home in terms of whether the parent read to them, whether the parent discussed the importance of education, if they've had good foundation from home, when they get to school, they have a set mind that, hey, my education is important, and whether this teacher is this way or that way, I'm here to get my education. So that's still very important. Of course, we do know a lot of times kids are not getting what they need to get. You know, parents love their kids. I have always believed that. But sometimes we have parents who may not be as equipped to do the things that, you know, will be best for their children in starting school. So what we do, I know the 30 years I've worked for the desegregation program, we've developed parent workshops, we've developed support programs for kids, you know, to kind of bring all of it together. And I always say to parents, school staff, and even the kids, we're all on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
We're all on the same team. Mm-hmm. And the goal is for you to get your education so that when you get out in the world, you'll be able to be a productive citizen and go into whatever career you want. And when you get a family, you're able to take care of your family. So we're all on the same team with a one main goal. That's for our students to be successful and get what they need so they can go out in the world and be productive citizens.
Sure. Great. Did you ever see yourself in a role like you are now, as far as being a city leader or an elected official?
No.
Okay.
No. I have said to many people, relatives, I am not a politician. However, I've always been a involved person in my community, wherever I have lived. I've always been involved. And I care about my community. I care. So when I was encouraged to take this appointment, I prayed on it first. I discussed it with my husband, had his full support, and then I just saw it as a God assignment. You know, I want to help my community heal. I want to help move forward. I'm very invested in my community. And we have good people in Ferguson. We have good people in Ferguson. And we really all care about the same thing.
Right.
We may have some disagreements, some differences, but we basically care about the same thing, and that is our community. You know, and Ferguson is a good community. Yeah, we had some tragic things to happen with the death of Mike Brown and the civil unrest. But with all of that has happened, they're good people, and I think overall we love our community and we want to move forward and make it a great place to live, raise kids, and for other people to come and visit, whether they're just visiting or moving in.
And I know, and I've listened to you when you got up to speak at the city council meeting. And one of the things that I was always impressed by is the fact that you did stick up for what you felt was right, or what, in some cases, was the voice of maybe someone who wouldn't have gotten up to speak and who has not felt connected to the community.
Right.
You know, because in some ways you'll hear people say, well, they didn't see that there was a disconnect, or they didn't know that certain topics existed for one reason or another. So you've spoken up for those, and you've held city officials accountable, and that's okay.
Yes.
But I think even as you were very passionate about the comments you were making or the questions you were asking, but you always ended that by expressing your love for Ferguson. So it wasn't just, let me trash the leaders, let me trash the community, and it's bad, but you always, it's like, well, as you mentioned, you're invested, and what can we do to improve? Because we can't just knock everything down and leave it.
Right.
Somebody's got to be there to move forward.
Well, you know, Jeff, when I was appointed, I had a friend to say, all they ever say about you is you were a protester. She said, but finally they said retired educator.
Right.
And I've had some of the people in my ward to bring that up, you know, you were a protester. And what I say to them is, we all have a right, a First Amendment right, to protest peacefully, hopefully peacefully. But I was out there because I wanted, first of all, to be able to talk to the young people, and I did want justice, transparency, and to get at the heart of what happened with Michael Brown. But when I have spoken at council meetings, I've always just wanted to speak truth, express how I felt, and people who I know probably didn't want to speak up or, you know, didn't have a voice, so to speak. So I was speaking not only for myself but for them. And at times, things that I said may have been looked upon as, well, she's being negative. But no, it wasn't negative. It was just truthfully speaking, because what I've always felt was that we can't move forward if we're in denial about what has happened here. we had a real tragedy. And when the DOJ did their investigation, there were some things brought out that were just wrong. You know, so in moving forward, you know, we can't pretend that things didn't happen. You know, we have to acknowledge that we had some tragic things happen, that we had certain people in the community who felt that they were done an injustice, and so you can't move forward.
Got to handle that.
Yeah, you got to handle that. You have to acknowledge that. So at council meetings, I always wanted to just speak the truth and maybe help everybody understand, hey, this has happened, let's face it, let's try to work through it, and let's do what's best for everybody in the community.
All right, thank you. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
If you say Ferguson, everybody knows what Ferguson is and where it is.
But the biggest thing is, it's just a great group of people in this community. I mean, people are like family.
In Ferguson, we're growing.
Here in Ferguson, we are determined to continue edifying the community.
In Ferguson, we're thriving.
Giving back to the community.
We're all part of Ferguson.
With your help, we're moving Ferguson forward.
You know, the windshield just glass broke and screeching, and I saw, you know, a body come down from off the top of the van, and I just thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? What have I done? There's never a day that I wake up that I don't think about it.
All right, we're back with more of City Matters, and we're going to continue our conversation. What has been the biggest, I guess, difference or transition from being on the outside to now having this very important seat at the table that you have on the council?
I think the biggest challenge, I'm very, let's say, concerned that I know how the city operates, that I'm well informed, because one of the things I said before taking the appointment, if I should get the appointment, I wanted to make sure I heard the people not only in my ward but in the community, their concerns, how they felt about things, and in whatever way that I'm able, if no more than just listening, but hopefully also being able to take action on their concerns. That's been the challenge, because I really want to be a council person that serves the community, is concerned about the community, and, you know, to hear their concerns and take action on what I can do to help them. I was at a meeting the other night, and it was Ward 2, my ward, and one of the things I heard from many of the people in that meeting was that they felt that certain parts of Ferguson wasn't getting the attention that it needs to get. And so as I listened to them, I said to them, you know, very sincerely, well, you know, as your council person, I need to know this, I need to hear this, so that whatever I can do to help in that situation, you know, I want to do that. So I think, you know, as an educator and having worked 30 years in the St. Louis desegregation program, I am used to helping people come to understandings, even though they may disagree, but basically coming to an understanding on, hey, what can we do where we all benefit? We're all helped. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do in becoming a council person, is helping people to come together, respectfully listen to each other, have discussions, and at the end of the day, we may have to agree to disagree, but let's at least talk, hear each other's opinions and how we see things. And you might say, well, you know, I never thought about it like that. You know, that's something to think about. Or you may just say, I don't agree. But let's at least respectfully come together and talk with one another. And One Ferguson, and we've got different organizations where we are promoting that. You know, people coming together. Because yeah, we've got to look at the economics and all of that, the business part. But if people are not together as far as trusting and understanding one another, it makes it more difficult to move forward in all other areas.
Right. Yeah, it's they talk about perception of reality.
Exactly.
And I think from the outside, if you're looking in and you just see what appears to be chaos and just racial discord, why does anybody want to come to Ferguson? Well, it's a shop. Why do you want to move to Ferguson?
That's absolutely correct. If they're seeing a house divided, that's not something that's going to attract people. I mean, they're divided and they're not together. Why would I want to move there? Again, Ferguson has, we have good people, and I think overall we all want to come together and move our community forward. And I think we're going to do that. It may take a little while, but I think we basically have a mindset, hey, this is our community. For those of us who have decided to remain here, we're not moving out, we're invested, we can't do anything but come together for the overall good of everyone.
What have you seen in your neighborhood, in your surroundings? Did you see, houses, everybody putting a for sale sign up, or what have you seen through this, or what's? Now,
in my subdivision, we had about, I think, 4 houses to go up for sale, and 3 are already. We have people who have purchased the homes and they're there, and I'm real happy about that.
Yeah.
We have 1 that's still vacant, but out of the 4, 3 we've had people to move in and purchase the home.
Yeah, I know. I was sat in on an interview with Bloomberg, and they were talking about the role that the new Starbucks can play, and I guess hopefully will play on the commercial side of attracting businesses. And I think one thing that we were able to tell him is that sure there were a whole bunch of different big box businesses to come in, but amid all the challenges, it wasn't like everybody folded up shop and left either.
That's right.
Which says a lot, I think.
It says a lot. Again, businesses who, like homeowners, are invested, and they weren't willing to give up on Ferguson, because of all of this happened. And I think that's what it takes. It takes people who, they're really committed, they really love the community, and it's like, hey, we're not moving out. We're going to do everything to make this community heal and come back and move forward. And that's the way I feel, and a lot of people. That's just the way it feels. And I'm glad we have businesses who felt that way. They weren't ready to close shop and move.
Well, what do you think, everything aside from Justice Department and all that kind of stuff, but just as a long-time resident, what are some things that you want to see come not only to Ferguson, but I guess to North County, from a business standpoint, whatever, but just to move forward, I guess?
Well, I want to see, as one of my fellow council people always say, we need shops to come back. We want more businesses to come back. I want to see all of that, because see, sometimes North County gets a bad rep. It really does. I've heard, I don't want to live in North County. But another thing that I like about North County, I like the diversity. I like the fact that, some of the most beautiful homes you find in North County, just like you find in West County. And I know because having been a counselor in the desegregation program, I'm all over the county, visiting schools. But North County has some of the most beautiful homes, just like West County. And I think if we can get more businesses to come in, get major malls back, I'd like to see all of that, to help us to progress even more. But I like North County, and I just feel like we have to be just like anybody else, whether it's South County, West County. We have to care about our community. we're all invested, those of us, you know, that live here, and just do everything. Everybody has a part to play.
Right.
Everybody should find something where they're giving to the community, whether it's on a committee or whatever. But everybody has a part to play in giving, in taking part, in participating.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, I hate to use the word protesters, you mentioned those, but people refer to you, but even those individuals who are not happy with certain individuals with the city or certain things, that the way that they were run, there are ways that they could, I would imagine, channel that energy into different programs that are going on, or joining a committee, or you know, finding a way. You know, so here's the problem. Now, what can you do about it, or what can you offer to help?
And you know, I'm beginning to look at them more as community activists.
I like that.
I like that term. But there was a time when they were protesting, and that was their First Amendment right. Now, I look at them as community activists, and I plan to sit down with some of them in the next week or so and really, you know, talk with them, because as community activists, you want to be active in helping your community move forward. Now, that's not to say they can't continue to watch for things that may not be right, you know, in their eyesight, because I think at one meeting, one of the community activists actually said, you know, we're going to watch you. We're going to hold you accountable. That's fine. Citizens need to do that. They need to do that. But as a community activist, you need to get active in whatever part you can play in moving your community forward. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, some of them, they don't live here. Well, they may not live here, but if they're taking part, whether it's shopping or whether they're still concerned about moving the community forward, they can still play a part.
Yeah, right. They play a role.
They can still play a role. And it just comes down to, are you going to be part of moving us forward, or are you going to be part of just being negative and not moving us forward? So I would say to them, when I meet with them, that, you know, hey, always have your voices heard, and hold the council accountable, but at the same time, be a real activist and get active in moving us positive and forward. You know, make it a positive interaction with the city so that we can move forward and be progressive.
And I want to ask you too. We have a new police chief that will be coming in place, and that role is going to be very, very critical to helping that process, and I guess kind of setting the tone of what the new Ferguson will be in terms of implementing the consent decree and that type of thing.
Right.
What are your hopes for that person or that role, and kind of the way that they shape, you know, the police department and that whole?
Well, you know, the council did sit on the interviewing committees, and I was impressed with Mr. I can't think of his name now. I was impressed with him, and there were others.
Yes, sure.
I believe one of the things I remember him saying was that you have to really get to know the people of the community, and he basically said he would set that leadership style in terms of police officers. And you know, we got the whole community policing component anyway, but he expressed that like that was very important.
Starting from the top down.
Yes, starting from the top down. And he being the leader, he expressed the importance of knowing your community. And certain things can happen, and if you know your community, you know certain kids, you know families, something can happen, and if you have some kind of knowledge and know them, you can say, well, let me take them home, talk to their parents, you know. So I was impressed with that, and I think any person who would have gotten a position would have to, you know, feel that way, because that's a major part of community policing. But I'm looking forward to him coming in. He knows what has happened here as the world, we've been global, and I think he'll lead in a way based on what we need here, and I think he will present that leadership style where it trickles down to the other police officers. Because, you know, anytime you head any organization, it begins with the leader.
Sure.
It begins with the leader. So I have good thoughts about what he's going to do. What he's going to do.
All right. Well, that's what we need to hear. I think
yeah.
so much is riding on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I have confidence that he'll come in and do a good job and really meet the needs of what the community needs. And, you know, with the consent decree, you know, stating the whole thing in regards to the police and what has happened, I believe, will make sure that there's a positive turn on that, and that, you know, we do what the decree says.
Right, like it's not a punishment.
Right,
It's
right.
the way to do things better.
Right. And we actually implement and do what the decree says. And he has a great responsibility for that. Right.
And you'll be there to support him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking the time to talk with us. It's been a great conversation, and that'll do it for this edition of City Matters. We'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.